Welcome back to Newsday. Thank you for staying with us. Now, a nationwide manhunt is underway in the United Kingdom after an inmate escaped from a London prison on Wednesday morning. Daniel Khalif was in custody in Wandsworth prison, one of the biggest jails there. Now, the former British Army soldier has been accused of terrorism offences. Officials say it was almost certain that he had inside help. He broke free after reportedly slipping out of the kitchen where he was working and strapping himself to the underside of a food delivery van.
I made clear then, and I reiterate now, that no stone must be left unturned in getting to the bottom of what happened. Who was on duty that morning? In what roles? Ranging from the kitchen to the prison gate. What protocols were in place? Were they followed? Second, I've ordered an investigation into the categorisation decision by HMPPS. Were all relevant matters taken into consideration in determining where in the custodial estate Daniel Khalif should be held? In both cases, I've asked for the preliminary findings to be with me by the end of this week, and an assessment will be made then about what can properly be put into the public domain. I have also decided there will need to be an additional independent investigation into this incident, and that will take place in due course.
For more of this, let's bring in our Rise correspondent Lape Olarinoye, who joins us live from London. Interesting footage there. It's nearly day 3 of the manhunt to find Daniel Khalif. What more do we know so far?
Well, Nii, we do know that there is, of course, a very stringent search operation going on. We know that neighbouring parks, which span acres and acres of land, namely Richmond Park, was searched this morning and it was closed to the public. That search was quickly completed as other searches are underway across ports. Airports checks have been intensified, leaving passengers going on holiday waiting longer queues because the police are trying to get to the bottom of this. It's said that they're searching day and night, even including the use of drones over the seas that border the United Kingdom to try and see if this man, Daniel Khalif, has managed to escape via sea. Now, of course, we know that it's day 3, as you rightly pointed out. And as the days continue, it becomes more and more of a bad look for not only the justice system in the UK, but particularly the police services as well as the prison services. How could somebody that has a terror charge related be essentially that easy to escape from a Category B prison? So those are how stringent those security operations are currently, but there have been more revelations as this story develops, particularly the inquiries that will be and investigations that will now start looking into how somebody of Daniel Khalif's nature was placed in a Category B prison instead of a Category A prison, a more higher security prison in neighbouring Belmarsh, where more terror-related charges are dealt with and offences are dealt with. Moreover, how could somebody of his charge nature be able to work in the kitchens? As you've seen there from the Justice Secretary, there will be a lot of questions asked as to why this was able to take place and why, as of day 3, he's yet to be found.
Indeed, Lape, and of course, it's been insinuated that this was pre-planned and that he had inside help. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, there are quite important specifics about the nature of Mr. Khalif's escape, particularly the fact that he was allowed into a kitchen where we know that there are, very specific equipments like knives. Given that kitchen duty in prisons is usually given to more lower risk criminals, more criminals that are given more responsibility, it does beg the question as to why he was allowed to work there. More importantly, the devices he used to escape. It's said that he used a self-strapping device to strap himself under this lorry that delivers food into those kitchens at Wandsworth Prison to essentially go through the front door. That has been severely questioned by the Metropolitan Police as to ask whether or not he got more help. The most important part of those questions is the fact that he was said to have escaped at about 7:20 a.m. On the day that this took place 3 days ago. And within the first hour, he was still unable to be found. The police services were only alerted just after an hour. So the window was quite short, and he could potentially not even be in the country, hence the nationwide search. And so there's a lot of questions being raised now as to whether this was pre-planned, how long he was pre-planning. Just this morning, a member of the Metropolitan Police Service was on a local radio program, and he refused to state whether or not Daniel Khalif had a notebook in his cell, which could have given some sort of indication of his intent to escape, or where he was going, or if he was going to leave any trails. So there are still some unanswered questions from the prison service, and including the nature of this search as well.
The slippery fellow, nonetheless, Lape, if you don't mind me saying so. But this has brought on a larger conversation about the state of prison services. What role does this play in this escape so far?
Well, it plays a very important role. It begs the question of how secure is Wandsworth Prison, and albeit other prisons across the UK. Now, since 2012, there's said to have been an escape by a prisoner every year till date. I mean, that is quite staggering, but at the same time, it's not as frequent as in other countries. Now, the real question that is being asked here is, how understaffed is Wandsworth Prison? A report was released just today about the squalid conditions that prisoners live under, how long they spend in their cells. They're said to spend about 22 hours in their cells, some not having showers for days on end, or even having to choose between having a shower or seeing some daylight. And so for that reason, there's said to be a huge pressure for the prison services who are managing Wandsworth Prison. And the fact that it's becoming overpopulated, there has been outbursts of anger, increased anger and violence amongst prisoners. And that is something that has been very difficult for prison officers to keep under control. And it's alluding to the fact that this could be a reason why there are loopholes for prisoners to take and to potentially escape. And even worse, of course, it begs the question that should the public who live in that area and the country at large feel trust for the prison services, if they can't keep prisoners in prison and keep the public safe, then does Wandsworth Prison serve its purpose?
Well said. Arise correspondent Lape Olarinoye, thank you so much for joining us here on Newsday. We appreciate your time as always.